Won't be Ryan the Great, and today we are previewing the Jaguars because they're the away team versus the Eagles, guys. And yeah, the Eagles 3-0 since the bye week. We've looked good. Hopefully we will take this one as well, but we're gonna preview it. I'll give my predictions and not really much more to say. So let's just get right into it. But before we get right into it, well, actually, I know I'm wearing the Penn State shirt, and they obviously lost to Ohio State, but, still got a rep. But anyway, let's just get right into it. But before we get right into it, guys, make sure you guys subscribe with your post notifications on. Go subscribe to my brother the Great blogs. Make sure you guys subscribe to my second channel at Ryan the Cog Great. Make sure you guys go follow me on X at Ryan the Great RTG. Make sure you guys go follow me on TikTok at Ryan the Great RTG. Make sure you guys go listen to the latest edition of the CR7 podcast, and make sure you guys go follow me on Twitter at Ryan the Great Podcast. I'm out for do, ladies and gentlemen. Let's run the video. Let's roll that intro. Hey, come on, Stotty. Stop! 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 Red flag! First pitch! Bring him in! Yeah! Oh, damn. All right, let's start the video. So starting off with the Eagles, their offense and their quarterback, Jalen Hurts. I mean, we're going up against one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. The Jaguars are 31st in the NFL in giving up quarterback rate. They're 30th in the NFL in yards per attempt, the quarterbacks. So there really should be no excuses for Jalen to not have a great game. He hasn't turned the ball over since the bye week. He's been throwing the football well. He's been airing it out well. He's made the right reads. He's stayed cool in the pocket. He should dominate this game. I mean, even the Jaguars' pass rush has not been that good over the past couple of weeks, or really this season overall. I'll get into that just a little bit later. But I expect Jalen to really stay cool in the pocket and make some throws because we really should be doing it this week. I am still coughing, so I feel like I have some coming. So make sure you don't. Make sure you don't get too mad at me for it. But anyway, going on to our running back, Saquon Barkley. I mean, the Jaguars, they've played decent against running backs this year. They've only given up 3.9 yards a carry. That's 5th in the NFL. But they gave up 127 yards and 2 touchdowns last week to Josh Jacobs, who evidently had a good game. And, this week they go up against Saquon Barkley. Listen, the way the Eagles have been playing, it doesn't really matter who has the best run defense or whatever. The Eagles are going to have a good game with Saquon Barkley. He just hasn't had a bad game this year, no matter what you say. So I expect him to have a pretty decent game. You don't really need to do any crazy improvising runs because I do believe that Saquon Barkley will be able to bounce to the outside, even though you are going to be dealing with Allen and Walker and all that. They're not too explosive when they are in the open field. So if you're able to have somebody swing around like Jurgens, who has the ability to do it, he just doesn't do it too often. He could swing around and, maybe make a play, pull in that inner Kelsey. Speaking of Kelsey, gee, Mané, I don't know, I don't really want to talk about too much controversy, but you see him slam that dude's phone like twice. I mean, that was nuts. That guy was like, that guy after that happened, he looked shook. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I just thought it was funny. Not fun. Obviously, the situation wasn't funny, but like, when he slammed the dude's phone, I was like, God damn. But nonetheless, I expect a big game from Barkley. Moving on to our wide receiver, starting off with A.J. Brown. I've said it for just about every time. You put him in a one-on-one, you're not going to stop him. I'll say it every single week. I really don't care. I'll say it for 18 straight weeks and however many weeks we make it so far in the playoffs. I really don't care. He's the best one-on-one wide receiver in the NFL. It's really simple when I break down the preview. If you put him in a one-on-one, you're not going to be able to stop him. I expect early in the game the Jags will try and shut down Saquon Barkley, try to force the Eagles to throw the football. But, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world because obviously Jalen's played really, really well over the past couple of weeks throwing the football. So, I expect A.J. Brown to get the advantage, and he's just going to rout the hell out of everybody, so I'm not too concerned. Devontae Smith, other than the big touchdown last week, didn't really get involved much and really has not been involved that much this season. So I think if they put more focus on A.J. Brown throughout the game, then maybe he can dominate or start to get the ball a little bit more. But, I think if the Jaguars start to play a little bit of zone, which they probably might, then if they drop those linebackers, then, he's got to show himself 5-yard curl and then, take it for another 10. He's done really, really well with yards after the catch this season. I brought it up last week, and I'm bringing it up again this week. He's done a really good job with that, so I'm hoping that that can continue. Dotson, I'm not expecting much, and honestly, why should I? Moving on to our tight end, Grant Calcaterra. He's done a great job replacing Dallas Goedert thus far. And once again, I think I said this last week, I think it's because teams don't really plan for him. But I'm not complaining. He's really done well all over the field. He's blocked well. He's been able to, take out guys off the edge to create extra time for Saquon Barkley to find a hole. He's received the ball well. He's obviously ran those crossers over the middle, kind of deep down the field, and he's done a really good job. Even outside the numbers, he's done a great job getting open. He's not the best route runner in the NFL, but he's a big body and he's a good target to find, so I'm not going to complain about it. Anyway, moving on to our offensive line, the Jaguars have not been too good when it comes to pressuring the quarterback, as I mentioned a bit earlier. Even with Allen, Walker, and the crew, they just have not done a good job. Only one sack on 27 pass attempts, I believe it was, from the Packers. I forgot to write this down. But don't fact check me on that. So, if we just cut back on the stupid penalties this week for the offensive line, then we really should be good. Hopefully everybody's okay this week. Obviously my lot is on IR. I expect him to be out for a little longer than 4 weeks, but that's just me. Hopefully we're all healthy. Everybody's good. Becton's going to be all right. So if we just got to cut down on these stupid penalties, and I think this offensive line will be able to flourish. Anyway, moving on to our defense and our defensive line. The Jaguars' offensive line has been really good this year, which is surprising. One of their stronger points, a 26.4 pressure rate allowed. That's I believe the third lowest in the NFL. If we can have a good game here, that a lot of concerns, or at least just pressure the quarterback. If we can have a good game here, then a lot of concerns about this defensive line will go away. Obviously only one sack last week against Joe Burrow, but they did put some pressure on him at times. The only problem I had with them is that they were letting him, run right through that A gap and rush for a couple of yards, or maybe get out of the pocket and find an open receiver. That's the only problem I really had last week with the Eagles' defensive line. They put some pressure on Burrow, so I can't really complain about it. But if Sweat and Huff remember that they have hands and that they can, get around tackles that way, then, we should be good. Bigsby, we're not sure if he's playing. ETN hasn't been playing too good this year. The D-line did play well last week against the run. Hopefully they take that and put that forward into this game. Obviously, it was against Chase Brown and Zach Moss, and the Bengals don't run the football much. So hopefully, but either way, we should be able to stop the run here. While the Eagles haven't played running backs too well this year, the Jaguars, ETN has not played well. Bigsby is hurt. He might not be getting as many snaps as Jaguars fans would hope for. So I would expect a decent game here stopping the run. I don't expect them to, hold them to 2 yards to carry, but, I really don't think that they should be giving up 4 or 5 yards either. Nonetheless, our linebackers, once again, if Nolan Smith can remember, everybody, this defensive line just don't remember that they have talent, to be honest with you. If Nolan Smith can remember that he has some decent speed and can use his hands and, maybe make a swim move or a rip through here and there, and he can make a few plays off the edge. He has the ability to do that. It's not like he's not a good player at all. Like, he has the ability to do it, and I keep saying that I wanted to draft Brian Branch over him. I still say that. But, it's not like he can't have decent games here and prove me wrong. Dean, hopefully he was awake in the film room this week because, you should know to get right through those filled gaps. Bond, I'm not really normally I've said, he's got to take on those unfilled gaps, got to take on the holes that the running back will go through. This week I don't really think he should do that, because I do think the Eagles defensive line will do a decent job defending the run. Also, these guys do like to bounce to the outside, especially Bigsby. They like to get bounced to the outside if they don't find an open hole. They don't really like to run through holes that they don't think they're going to get decent yards on. So Bond should probably stay away from that line of scrimmage, because then if they bounce to the outside, not really anybody that you can find there. And obviously our outside linebackers, like Nolan Smith and others, they're obviously going to be pass rushing. So you're going to need Bond to, take on the majority of the problem if they bounce to the outside. And then, obviously I think the defensive line, once again, will have a decent game. So even if they do bounce to the outside, we should not have a problem stopping that. And is there anything else that I need to say? Also, if we're going to put linebackers on tight ends and receivers, Nolan Smith, I'm looking at you. We should at least defend them. This week, don't put Nolan Smith on Brian Thomas Jr. As last week, he was on Jamar Chase. And then one time, Brandon Graham was on Malik Neighbors. I don't know what we're doing, having these guys who rush the passer play in pass cover. Doesn't really make that much sense to me. But, if we do put some of these linebackers on these tight ends, we have to do a better job. Because last week, they kept letting Gesicki get into the flats, and And I kept letting him leak out, and then it cost us. It was a 3rd and 21 that we gave up because Gesicki was able to leak out into the flats. That just can't happen. Anyway, moving on to our cornerbacks and safeties. This Brian Thomas Jr. guy, he's tough, man. He's a good player. He's a great double move to get to the inside. Mitchell hasn't really faced a guy like that. He normally has been facing a lot of guys that, you know, like to stay outside the numbers and are good route runners out there. So he hasn't really faced too many guys that like to cut to the inside. Luckily, he has really good makeup speed or recovery speed, which doesn't really make me too concerned about if he's going to do well or not. Slay is out, but Rodgers impressed me really well last week with that tip ball that created an interception that I'm not really too concerned about this. He's primarily going to be looking at Parker Washington or Brian Thomas, and I think he's going to have a decent game. Obviously, Parker Washington, 46 yards last week, had a pretty decent game against the Packers, but the way Rodgers, he put in a lot of work in the offseason. We all know that, and I think he's really got a chance here to make some plays, and I hope he does. And then anything else I need to cover? Dejean and Maddox, they got to do better in the slot. Dejean gave up a few passes last week to Gesicki, and I'm hoping that, it might have been Maddox, I don't remember, but nonetheless, Gesicki kept getting open in the slot, and that's really their job, and that's their job to defend the slot. Maddox still is getting some reps while Dejean is the starter. They got to do a little bit better defending that slot, especially from what we saw last week. Our safeties, I think they should play 10 yards off the ball, while the Jaguars don't like to go too deep, which is why I don't think it should be 15. I think it should be about 10 yards, just because of the fact that, once again, the Jags don't go deep, and also they love to run those 10-yard corners. Some of those guys like to get to the outside of the numbers. Parker Washington did that somewhat last week. Even Brian Thomas Jr., who doesn't really like to get on the inside, he ran out last week as well. These guys, they like to get the outside the numbers, and if we're able to get some safety help down there, at the points where they get into their break, then, we shouldn't have too many problems with that. And then hopefully Blankenship did good on one-on-ones last week because they were targeting him last week. He did not look good in coverage at all. So hopefully that gets better this week. In our coaching, if we can't get into a groove with Barkley, then we have to make sure we get good matchups for our receivers. And then we're going to have to get people involved. It's not just going to have to be A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Calcaterra if Barkley's not having that good of a game early. Defense, we should be setting some pressure. I'm not confident in the D-line and putting pressure on Trevor Lawrence, especially since the Jags' offensive line has been playing so well this year. And based off the way our secondary has played, then we should put some faith in them. Anyway, the bottom line, let's score points in the first quarter, please. I mean, this Jaguars team is not good at all, and please don't make me want to have to rip my hair out every single play until the fourth quarter, which is when we start finding a groove, and late third quarter, I should say. But let's come out, handle our business. We're a pretty heavy favorite. Well, not heavy, but we're a pretty decent favorite heading into this one. So let's do something when it comes to, winning this football game and looking like a good football team. My prediction, I'm going to take the Eagles 28-10 here over the Jaguars. I expect the Eagles to have a pretty good game. I don't expect them to, blow them out by 50, but I don't also I also don't expect this one to be too close in the end. But anyway, that'll do for this video, guys. Make sure you guys subscribe with the post notifications on. Go subscribe to my brother Lindy Gray Vlogs. Make sure you guys subscribe to my second channel at Ryan the Car Great. Make sure you guys go follow me on X at RTG. Make sure you guys go follow me on TikTok at RTG. Make sure you guys go listen to the latest edition of the CR7 podcast. And make sure you guys go follow me on Twitch at Ryan the Great Podcast. And as always, Ryan the Great out. Peace.